this was a topic that really excited me. It's just how important it is to be discussed, because especially in today's world, as you know, healing is being marketed nowadays. It is a selling point for people.
And become a trend and more of like everyone's talking about it, and you jump on this kind of because everyone's in our healing era kind of thing.
I think there is a need to understand the difference between healing and self-improvement, and need to know letting go is part of a healing process but can also be separate to the healing process.
I actually had to leave Durban when I was 16 years old and let go of my mom, who, you know, is like, she was my everything.
Yeah.
And obviously it was not by intention to like leave her. I was kind of like forced to leave her. So that was actually one of the hardest things that I had to do in my life in other ways. And I think it was when I was in my first relationship with someone, I realized, like, you know what, I actually tolerated a lot of things that didn't serve me at that time. And I thought that this was my idea of love, or this was my idea of, you know, supporting someone, because that was always what I knew. This is not serving me. When I started to notice differences with myself, I was constantly agitated. I was constantly, you know, unhappy. I was screaming. I was starting to lose my own values and, you know, my closeness to my creator. And I think that was the big wake-up call. And I just felt like I was in a hole and I didn't know how to get out.
You've spoken about healing becoming addictive. What does that mean to you? When you look at it, have you seen yourself at certain points in your life where you've sort of caught yourself in being overly concerned with healing?
So I'm generally an overthinker. So sometimes, you know, I'll think like, okay, am I being too, is this my abandonment trauma being triggered, you know, or some term that they use now in psychology. And I'll be like, you know, I wasn't invited to this. Does this friend still like me? Or, you know, I'll have all these thoughts of improvement. But when we start to analyze everything about ourselves, like, do I have good girl syndrome? And, you know, like all these terms that, you know, that's coming, you're like, okay, is this now my good girl syndrome coming up? You know, it's like
labeling people, labeling emotions, labeling experiences. It's just, it's being overdone right now.
Or some, you know, like trend or something to then start labeling people and giving that share. But then you also get like random people talking about topics when they're not actually qualified to talk about. And when I say that, I mean giving advice and telling you, no, you shouldn't accept how this person treats you because this is called this behavior. And then starting to cancel that person out. I'm like, what? Things because you see patterns and you see stuff, and then when you meet other people, you kind of realize, oh, that's what's happening there, and you have to kind of like stop yourself from.
I think what we need to realize is other people's actually our mirror, and so if you're seeing it in them, it's because it's still in you. One thing I've realized about myself, and I realize still today, I still do the same thing every now and again. I catch myself doing it. Is I overcompensate because I had a dad who was not present. So what I did was I used to always try to get his attention. You know, I would do all these amazing things trying to get that attention from him. And I have just continued that in my life on a bigger scale. In every relationship I've ever had, it's like I feel like I need to give more of myself and more of myself and more of myself. And then you stop and then you realize, but you don't get it back. And you're so desperate because you didn't get it when you needed to get it from your parents. So now you try to get it everywhere else in your life, consistently overdoing it. And there's a point where you overcompensate to the point that it's at your detriment. And it should never be that. And so I've got to go and take a look at myself and go, well, why am I doing this? Where in my life do I not feel enough?
So like for me, just hearing you speak about that, it resonates with me, right? Because like I grew up and I had to leave like my mom, someone who was part of my life. And it you know, that's why I felt like with every, you know, or close relationships, I would try to hold on to it, because I felt like, this feeling of, I don't want to feel that pain again of letting go.
Yeah. So, and I think that it's important to reflect back and to go, why am I doing this? Why do I constantly go into the cycles? Because I feel it's a cycle. And I feel it's a cycle that we continually break. It's just as we're going through the whole healing process, you break that cycle earlier and earlier and earlier. That all of these things, all that happens is we start recognizing the cycles faster, we break it quicker, and we can get back on our feet faster.
Definitely.
That's really what happens. There's no healing point. There's no point that someone...
I love that you said that you love this friend, because we do love these people, right?
Yes.
But two things can exist. Two things can be true. You can love them, but they don't, they're not filling your cup. They don't serve you. For me, I just don't want to I didn't want to go back to that. So, because I felt very powerless, I felt very like I didn't have a voice, I didn't matter, and I feel like that's why for me, it was like, I needed to make sure I never feel that again.
Yeah.
And all of that. And we feel like we're not ready to go into a relationship because I haven't fully healed all my traits and toxic traits, and we kind of like overthink that.
And the thing is, like we said earlier, healing is not a destination. There's not a point that you go, oh, yay, I'm healed. Yes, your certificate. You are officially healed. Go apply for the job that you want.
Go out there. Go live your life.
Go live your life now. You are officially got a degree in healing. It doesn't work that way. And if someone else has hurt you, they come from hurt. The hurt that they hurt you with, you're going to hurt someone else with. It's as simple as that. It's just a simple thing.
Like a feeling that comes up when you say that to me is just the fact that it was never you. It was never you. You were always enough.
Yeah.
And when someone does something to hurt you, it's not because of you. It's because of them and what they're going through.
And this is why I don't like the word healed.
Yes.
Because then we have an expectation of perfection from ourselves, and we think we are not supposed to have this feeling anymore. Then we want to go, oh no, it's the therapist, it's the psychologist, they didn't do their job right. It's not like that. And if we consider ourselves healed, then we become so smug about it. Like we somehow achieve some greatness that nobody else has had. And then when we do fail, then we fall even deeper because we think, oh, now everybody's saying, oh, yeah, she thought she was so great because she healed and she's better. And now she thought she was better than us, but look at her now. And then we take even longer to get up. And how did you, relay the decision to the people involved?
Yeah. So I didn't actually say, hey, I'm just letting you go. You have been let go.
You're fired.
It was a process.
The reason people struggle to let go is because they think, oh, this person's going to think that I'm giving up on them. And it's not giving up on anyone.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you choose to stay with people that doesn't serve you, you're giving up on yourself.
If it's a close relationship, you think that without this person, what am I going to do? You don't see another possibility. You don't see another way. Your mindset is limited. And I think that you think that you need that person to be happy.
I think, today with social media, I think things become so public, and I think people are afraid of the publicity, because now I think, social media also has a way of being able to exploit people's pain and exploit people's lives. And I think that this is something, and I loved what you said earlier, and I wanted you to expand on that. Actually, you said that patience is an action. How do you see that?
You can pray, you can still believe in God and believe that He's going to help you and be patient, but you also need to do some action. You need to do something in your life that will enable you, so you make an effort.
And so I think that it's really important that, that the being happens. And I think that is the point of prayer, right? It allows us to be a little bit more than what we do.
Realizing what works for you. And once you find those things, you keep that in your routine as a balance. But it shouldn't limit you from living your life. You have to still have goals or ambitions. Try something new. Step out of your comfort zone and not live your life in a way where you're constantly just working on yourself all the time.
Living your life is working on yourself. I think For me, it's one and the same thing. It's not a separated thing. I think that, you know, how you living your life has a lot to do with your healing as well.
Something that I found very challenging was, you know, when I used to visit back home and people knew a version of Firoza that I grew up there, you know, with very introverted, you know, not very outgoing. They had that view of me. And when in all of that, I, you know, changed. I was no longer that version of myself. And when I'd go back, I would get comments like, oh, she's now working in corporate, she thinks she's better. And, or if you speak up for yourself or you defend yourself, she's being rude, or, you know, she thinks she's better now. But it was just actually, you know, letting go of that version of myself who didn't know better then. Very difficult when I would visit, because I'd feel that pain, like this was my family, and I feel like that version of Firoza no longer exists. And I did feel guilty, you know, for that. But at the same time, I had to realize that I am different, but I'm different in a good way.
I think when I look back, even at my own life, I always think I was exactly who I needed to be at that time. At that time, being that way served my life and the people around me. But when I moved away from that, I became something different, and I became a little bit more independent in my way of thinking. I became more independent also in my way of living. I would find when I went back home, I sometimes used to shrink myself.
One thing that I find is that you can still live life, you can still enjoy yourself, or, you know, go out, do these things, but also make time for you. And when I say that is,
at any point in your life, have you ever found yourself avoiding being, and you found yourself doing more?
I felt like I could not be a weekend doing nothing. I had to like do something, whether it was, I think, going, and it didn't have to be like fun or that kind of thing, but I just couldn't like just sit and do nothing. But when you're constantly like on the go, you can't do nothing. There's something that's really you're trying to avoid. That's what I found in my personal experience. And
I'm so super proud of you. I'm so proud of the person that you've become. And I'm really, really grateful that you are here today and that you're able to share that part of your journey.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and for the time and effort you made to listen to my story, and for being in my journey. And you've also been such an incredible influence in my life. I still remember the things you said to me. I still reference that. And one of the things that I think really stuck with me is that the right people stay. So you never have to dim your light. You never have to, you know, underplay your qualities or who you are. And, you know, the friends now that I have, they are absolute light themselves. And one of them being Tashrika, I'm sorry, I tried not to mention her, but she's just an absolute light. And I'm so grateful to have people like her in my life. That's just incredible human beings who gives, you know, don't only take, but also give back. And I'm just so grateful for having incredible people and the opportunity that you've given me today.
You know, light attracts light, my friend. Light attracts light. Thank you so much. Let me give you a hug. Thank you so much for being here. And that's a wrap, guys.